I just watched the first episode of Marvel's What If Season 2. This is episode 1.
What if? Break it down for me.
A very, very awesome start to the season. I will say, overall, I love the world building. I love the characters. I mean, Nebula is one of my favorite characters in the world, and you know how much I love Guardians of the Galaxy. So for me, this was a really special episode, but at the same time, I want to acknowledge that it isn't the most hype I feel like we could have started off the season with, but I think that's honestly for the best because it just means that we're starting off nice, easy, and I'm sure the best is yet to come. So I'm very excited to see what the rest of the season has for me as we build up day by day, which is going to be honestly insane. But let's talk about this episode. So first things first, obviously I love Nebula. I love Kieran Gillen. So having this character return again and getting another alternate version of this character when season 1, Nebula also had one of my favorite alt characters, was amazing. I also just love that we get to go to Xandar. I feel like Xandar is a place that's been so underutilized in the MCU. And so to get a bit of world building was really fun. I love the tone. It feels very Judge Dredd. It felt very kind of cyberpunky to me, and I love that we also get the Nova Corps, which I forgot, but yeah, we're getting like a Nova show, and it actually, I was reading up on it a little bit. I don't know if all the details I was reading are actually confirmed, but it sounds like it's going to be really, really cool. And I think this is actually a good way to give us a taste of that. So I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, and we're being primed for potentially a Nova trailer that could be coming soon or something like that. But this idea of sort of this, like, we're like space cops is really fun. And sort of this detective story almost that we get with Nebula could be something that could give us an idea of the tone of what the Nova show might be, which I'm here for. I think that could be really cool. One of the questions that I kind of have is that in this episode, Nebula talks about how her and Yondu were like close. And I was just wondering, like, how close were they? Like, were they close? Or is that not what she means? Because, yeah, I got questions. It seemed like it was implied that they were romantic, and then I was imagining that in my mind, and I was like, I can't imagine that. I think she meant like they just had a close bond, like they were really good friends. That's what I think. But let me know what your thoughts were on that, and if you ship Nebula and Yondu, if that is a thing. I don't think it's a thing, but is it a thing? Also, I love that Howard the Duck is voiced by Seth Green here. I recognized his voice right away, and I was like, oh, who is that? It's so perfect for Howard the Duck. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's Seth Green. Of course. Seth Green is always blowing my mind with voice work. He's in everything, and he's so good. Seth, you're great if you're watching this. Maybe one day I'll get to meet Seth Green and just tell him how much I love his voice work. He does a really good job. Also, Oz from Buffy, one of my favorite characters. Although I'm sure everyone that's in Buffy has like mixed feelings about it, but I did love Oz in Buffy. Fun fact. So when the reveal happens in this episode, which, fair warning, spoilers. I didn't say that at the beginning, but I think it goes without saying. When it's revealed that Nova Prime is actually the bad guy in this, where, you know, Nova Prime had to shield all of Xandar and then basically decides to like flip the script and be like, no, I'm gonna make a deal with Ronan, and you know, Ronan said he'll let me stay in power, so I'm just all about power, baby. Give me the power. That surprised me. I was not expecting that to happen. I kind of loved how crazy it was, but at the same time I also kind of felt it was a little bit weird because it kind of felt like out of nowhere. But I did have to remind myself, you know, this is a alternate Nova Prime. So just because I don't think the Nova Prime from our reality would do that doesn't mean that the Nova Prime from this reality wouldn't do that. It was an interesting twist. It was definitely unexpected. And you know me, if we're doing a story that's like kind of this detective story, kind of this sleuthing around, got to figure out what's really going on and like solve the case, then I love when it's an unexpected twist because, I mean, I don't want to be able to guess it. That would kind of ruin the fun of the sleuthing, you know? So I did enjoy it. I thought it was pretty cool. And of course, I knew when they threw Nebula off that cliff, when she went falling, and they were like, oh, she's probably dead. I was like, never say that. When somebody falls and you can't see them, you always gotta confirm the kill. I also liked this idea of some real world issues kind of bleeding in, this idea that they had to be secluded, so it's kind of like the global pandemic, and the idea of when Nebula goes down and into the slums of Xandar, like that are lower down, which I always love when there's like a higher class in a sci-fi world and they're literally high up, like just the symbolism of that. It's just so cool. So cool to think of like people that are literally down in the muck and people that are literally up in the clouds. So when she goes down and she sees all these people and this idea that they actually don't like the Nova Corps, even though the Nova Corps are supposed to be protecting Xandar. They see the Nova Corps as these elitist people that are actually ruining everything, and they want to rebel against the control that the Nova Corps has over Xandar. That was so cool. I love that. I just thought it was such a cool mirror of some real world issues. And that whole reveal where when Nebula gets with her crew and it's, you know, Howard and Korg and everyone's coming together and Groot, and Korg's just like, right, so we all look cool. I was just like, I love this. And she gets Yondu's fin. All of that was amazing. I didn't know that I needed to see Nebula with Yondu's fin and live that life, but I did, and it was good. Also, it took me a while. I knew it was Yon-Rogg, but then I was like, oh yeah, Jude Law is Yon-Rogg. And initially, when Nebula is working with him before he betrays her, and they're like chatting, I was like, man, this guy's like really flirting with Nebula. Like, who is this guy? And I was like, Yon-Rogg and Nebula? Is that a thing? This whole episode was making me question Nebula ships. But yeah, Yon-Rogg with Nebula is a thing that obviously it's going to be a thing because it's Jude Law as Yon-Rogg. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised that he'd be flirting with everyone. Anyways, overall, I thought this episode was very good. It definitely made me want that Nova show. It definitely makes me want more What If Season 2. What a fun time. I had a great first episode. I love the design of this. I love the characters. And I love the different stuff that we did. So, good job, What If Season 2, Episode 1. I will be back for the next episode, and I cannot wait to talk to you about it. Let me know what your thoughts were on this episode down in the comments. Let me know what characters you're loving, what characters you're not loving. Are there any highlights from this episode in terms of characters and alts? Are there any highlights from Season 1 that you hope return? I have some ideas, so I'm excited to see if they come back. Also, I'm gonna miss Marvel Zombies. I know we're getting a whole show, but man, Marvel Zombies, it's just so cool. I was really hoping we'd go back to it and we'd slowly build it throughout the seasons in Marvel What If, but when are we getting that Marvel Zombie show anyways? When are we getting any of these shows? When are these things happening? There's so many projects. So little time. Let me know your thoughts, friends. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay nerdy.